Well, an interesting thing, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of teachers and mentors. And locally, one of my mentors is a gentleman named Larry
Hmm.
Bonney. And Larry Bonney was one of the founding members of the hostage rescue team for the FBI. Okay.
Oh, that's yeah, that's not a that's a soft job, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
not a tough
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. He went in depth talking to me about the level of training physically and psychologically and those types of things. But he really was and is focused on the whole idea of stopping school violence. And so when we talked about Columbine, he said the lesson learned was this SWAT team shows up and they're looking at a schematic of the school, trying to know where they're going to go as they, move through it. And they're hearing gunshot after gunshot after gunshot. And he said every gunshot is a child or a teacher or a staff member who's dying in their minds. And it was.
Hmm.
So he said they completely changed how they dealt with those things. That after that, it was standard practice that a law enforcement officer, irregardless where they are, especially in a school, you hear a gunshot, you run to it, even if you're by yourself. And I might be off on this because stats change periodically, but the stat that I came across about 5 years ago was in an active shooting scenario. If no one responds at the moment that the attack takes place, the average number of lives lost is anywhere from 14 to 15 people. If someone responds at that very moment, and by respond, I mean they go to the threat, they don't necessarily have to be successful in completely stopping it. Slowing it down is ultimately what you're trying to do. The average number of people that are killed is 2 to 3.
Mm.
So that gives people more time to get out. Now, granted, 2 to 3 lives lost is too many for me,
Right.
but that's a better number when you start looking at 15. And if you look at the Uvalde scenario, 19 lives were lost until ultimately, and it changes periodically. You have a border agent who hears about it while he's getting a haircut, and his wife works there, and he goes in, he breaks the lines of the law enforcement because they were literally pulling parents back. So in that case of Uvalde, it was a failure. Those officers should have gone in and they did not. So it takes an off duty border patrol agent to go in. There was also a couple mothers. There was a young Hispanic mother who goes in like 90 pounds soaking wet. She goes in there and she gets her kids out. That needs to be the next chief of police of Uvalde.